Okay, so let's see the practical application we are going to develop now.
So if I run this now, if I put admin, I know admin, I have programmed it now. So if I put admin, right? Awesome guys, awesome. So it's going to the admin page, so close. If I put a normal user, say ABC, right? And if I say the normal user, if I give a wrong password, wonderful, invalid username password. If I put the right password for a normal user, awesome guys, normal user.
Okay, so let's continue to develop this application now.
Logic, right? So there's an error. Let's see what this is. Not all paths read. So what does it mean is this? So it says not all paths, not all code path return a value, which means how I solve this problem is I will have to make sure something like this, right? So if this is null, right, what I'm going to say is I'm going to solve it this way, right? So I got a return what this says, say by not all code path return a value, meaning because I got if condition. So it's warning me that I might there can be situation where a value might not get returned, right? So let's see why it's happening like that. Let's investigate. So if you look at this carefully, I have done a spelling mistake here, right? So that's why. So because of this, it's not returning a value because I got a spelling mistake. So if I put it right, then it's fine. So either it goes in this path or this path, it returns. So it looks all good now, right? So awesome, my friends. So we have completed the logic class method as well, right? So then we have to now take care of the controller to see what the controller should do. So I'm going backwards now. So in the controller, it's not going to get a boolean. So the controller will get a user class, right? So because the method is now returning a user object. So obj user, right? Okay, my friends. So this is the interesting part, right? This is the interesting part. So now I got this into the controller. Now what the controller does is it has to check once again if this is null, because if it's null, right, so the controller now knows it's an invalid username. So the controller will decide where to go. That means you call it as redirect, right? Redirect, let's say redirect to the, let us say, sign in page, right? Once again, sign in page, right? So because it's an invalid username and a password. Else I'm just giving example, redirect to the main page because it's successful username and password. So now we can go to the main page, right? So that is the controlling task. So that is the purpose of the controller in MVC, model view controller. What the controller does is the controller delegates. Now for example, in the form, when you say login, you will be calling the controller, right? That's what I said. So what the controller does is it delegates a task, let us say, to the service classes or the logic classes, and when it get the result, it checks the result and does the controlling flow of control. So the flow of control is in this case to go to the sign in page, in this case to go to the main page. So now hope you understand the purpose of the controller is not to run any logic. Logic should be given to the logic classes, right? Which I have put inside the model. And once again, if you can't understand why I put it in the model, if you can't understand, you have to look at our previous lesson 5a to understand why I have done it that way, right? So hope you understand the controller does nothing. So my advice for you is once again look at our lesson 5a in this series, database programming 5a, and understand what the controller does, and now come and look back here, then you will be able to map why I'm doing this like this in the controller, right? Now one thing, this is a Windows Forms project, so if it was a ASP.NET project, I would have done a redirection here, right? So once again we have a lecture on ASP.NET MVC, have a look at it. But this is a WinForms project, so here what I mean by redirection is I should let know the login button that it's unsuccessful. So the way I can let it know is just return, right? Just say return false. So which means my validate user login method should be a, I'm just giving example, right? A boolean, right? Just to show you, right? And but the thing is this, right? So if I return it as a boolean, now for some reason, let us say if the form also need to know whether I should go in, whether it should go into the, let us say the if it's admin login, say if it's admin user level 1, it has to go for admin page. If it's user level 2, for example, it's not admin, so it has to go to a normal page. So how does the login make that decision? How can we help it, right? Let's see. So if you think a little bit about this now, if it's a boolean, as I said, well, if you return false, here you can say return, once again say return true. Then what happens is, if the controller returns true or false, what happens is then the button will get either true or false. So if the button receives a false, what does that mean? So let me write the code now. So the button will have to call the controller, right? So where's the controller? Once again, the controller is in namespace controller. So the button will have to first import the controller, right? It's done. So we have done that part. So the button click. So we have done that, right? So when the button called validate user login in the controller, if the controller is returning a boolean, then what the button can do is the button can just get it. Let me do it and show it to you, right? So let me do it. So then it will be very clear. So in the controller, then it's returning a boolean, right? Because I changed it, so it's returning a boolean. So the controller returns a boolean. So which means on the form, my friends, in the form, you are getting a boolean. So boolean, you can say bln, say login validation. I'm just giving example. But in a ASP.NET kind of application, in MVC, I would have done it in a different way. Meaning from here I would have redirected, so that I can say go to the login sign in page or go to the main page. But in the WinForms application, I had to do it in a slightly different way, like this. I had to return something, and where the form will have to now put a if condition. So that is how you do it. You will have to do it in a WinForms application. So if this is false, which means then you know it's invalid username and password. So then you can put a message box and tell the user msg message box, you can say what, dot show, isn't it, show, you can say invalid username or password, right? Invalid username or password, right? If not guys, else that means it's valid username or. So where do you want to go? You want to go to another screen, right? Say the main page, right? So then what you do is you can create a second form, right? Add form. So you can give some name, like what form. So you can say user, because now I want to see it this way. So there can be admins and non-admins, right? So admins and normal users, right? So I might say normal user main form, right? Then I might have another thing called admin user main form, something like that, right? A normal user a main form. The other one will be like admin user main form. So I will say normal user main form. Is there any better name for that? Let me see. I think that sounds fine. So normal user main form. So click add. Let me just copy this. I will need. So I got a normal user main form. So this is the normal user main form. So let me add few things to this. Let me add a label and few more things, so that it looks clear, right? Okay guys, I did some quick decorations. So I got the normal user main page. So what should I do now is, when I click login, let's say if it's successful, I know if else it's successful, I can create an object of that normal user main form, right? Isn't it? I'm just going to call that, right? Great. We are doing a great job, guys. We are almost going to finish in soon. So then on this you can say, okay, normal user form dot say show dialog, right? So if you want a model window, you can say show dialog, and this should work. So what happens is, putting everything together, when you click login, you are connecting to the controller. Controller will call its validate login, and you will pass the data. So on the controller will call the logic class and call the validation logic, pass the username and password, and the logic class will connect to the DAO and get the user through the DAO and return the user object, right? So it can be null or the object, right, as I explained. So then if the logic class, hold on, if the logic class the logic class returns the object, if it's null, it means it's invalid username and password, right? I explained you during this why it is like that, right? Then it returns null back. If not, it returns the object. So then that return value comes to the controller. So the controller retrieves the object. If it's null, controller knows that it's meaning it's invalid username or password. Controller returns false. If not, true. So then the controller value will get returned to the form. And if the form returns from the controller the boolean from the controller, and if it's false, that means invalid username. If not, it will go. So it looks all good, guys. So let's run this now, right? Let's run this, right? So I want to do one more thing before I run. I would like this window to be maximized, right? So I want to make it maximized. So I will say window state maximize. Awesome, guys. Let's run. Let's build this once, build the solution. So we are almost finishing this, guys, almost finishing. So let's run and see what's going to happen. Let's run.